Hello everyone! In this video we're going to discuss the third book in the Stormlight Archive, Oathbringer. We're going straight into spoilers because there's a lot to talk about. I did like it. I think there were some really strong moments. I still pretty much love the story and the characters, but I do have some complaints. So in this review we'll discuss the good, the bad, and a few things that frustrated me. So what I like this book, first of all, I love the characters. Okay, I still love the characters. I love spending time with them. I would say a few words for each of them in a bit. Let me just say what else I liked. The action scenes were great, okay? Like the ending, it was very long, but it was awesome. Also, the attack on the city, like when they were fighting in the palace, I think that was, even though it was smaller scale, it was more creepy. They were surrounded and the queen was possessed by this thing. So I really like this scene. It was very exciting to read and also a bit heartbreaking and everything. I love it when they discuss some kind of more philosophical things, like when they discuss a question, for example, of justice, like what is the right thing to do. I like how the tables turned when they learned that actually this was the Pershendi's world and they took it. Those themes that give the story some depth. I like it when characters are questioning their principles or they're questioning themselves. I really like when they interact, as rarely as that is. I don't mean interaction like, oh, let's discuss the plan, let's discuss what we're going to do. I'm talking more about like when they support each other, when they share things with each other. For example, when Dalinar was in a very low point and he hugged his son, that was so sweet. I love when Kaladin met with his parents, when he returned. I mean, there is always something kind of sweet about the character returning to their home and they're already changed, and you can see it in the way he reacts and interacts. I like that Kaladin had some interaction with the Pershendi, that he learned more about them, that he saw their point of view. Stakes are getting higher, like this is a very big conflict, the whole world is involved. We finally met Odium and we kind of learn more about him. My favorite moments were when they were in the palace in the city, surrounded by enemies, let's say. I liked the Dalinar storyline, and I like the final battle scene. Shademar, it was okay, it was interesting, but I'm not sure if that world is maybe my favorite. Again, I like how things are coming together at the end. Like I think Brandon is very good at plotting his stories, like how everybody in the final battle had their moments, how they team up together. Like this final battle really gave me Avengers Endgame vibes. It had the same vibe of superheroes almost coming together and fighting, and each of them doing their own thing, and then sometimes they pair up, like when Szeth and Lift came together. That was so fun. The interactions are so fun. By the way, I did read Edge Dancer. I have to talk about it maybe in another video. I like the little adventures that the character had together, like Kaladin, Shallan, and Adolin. By the way, I realized that I am mispronouncing Adolin and Renarin. I call him Adolin and Renarin, but people on the internet call him Idolin. How they call them? Adolin. Adolin? How? I forgot. So I'll probably keep mispronouncing them. I will try to learn the English names. So yeah, the story was interesting. Like the events happening were interesting. The twists and turns were interesting. Of course, some of those twists, I kind of saw them coming, but that actually just made me more interested because like, you know, when you read something and you kind of realize it's, oh, this is gonna happen, and you anticipate it and you're worried. And yeah, I had a lot of emotions. It made me very eager to read. There were some parts of it that were a bit slower to read. Yeah, it's fine. I know that not everything can be super exciting, but I like when there are character moments and slower moments. Things I didn't like are tendencies that existed in the first two books, but here they're like more prominent. For example, the pacing. It's a bit strange at times. For example, one chapter you have Kaladin, another chapter you have Dalinar, then you have Shallan, and sometimes I feel like it would be better if we spend more time with one character before we switch. He keeps switching sometimes too often, and that kind of makes the story a bit fragmented. The final battle was very much like a Avengers Assemble grand scale epic battle, and we will keep switching our points of view, which is interesting and dynamic, but sometimes could get too fragmented. It's a lot like a movie, like when in a movie you keep switching the scenes between characters, but I feel like in movies that works better, because in movies you have the visual thing, like for 1 second you already know who you are, where you are. In a book form, every time you have to realize where you are, it takes you a couple of sentences. I feel like it could have been arranged better. Also, sometimes, for example, we have the Bridge 4 point of view, and we have a chapter from different people from Bridge 4. It was nice to see their point of view, but I feel like those chapters could have been a bit trimmed. I don't know. When I was reading this book, I felt like this book could have like 2 versions. One could be like normal version, like first time you read that, and then you can have like extended edition with extra scenes. Now, another thing is the humor. I know that some people don't like Brandon's humor. I don't mind it. I just feel it's too repetitive. I understand that, like, for example, Aleti culture have a certain sense of humor, okay? And they might make jokes which are in a certain style. And yet I feel like I need some more variety. Maybe one character could be a bit more sarcastic, another could be a little more silly. The humor not always doesn't work always, or it's just a little bit repetitive. It's a little nitpick, it's not a big problem. I like Seal, I like the way Seal speaks, for example. I feel it fits her. And there is another thing I have kind of a complaint about, which is the way information is revealed. Everything has a logic and an excuse in the story, right? Nothing is just like coming out of the blue most of the times. But sometimes, even if you can excuse something, even if it's logical, maybe it's not the most exciting way to reveal information, or it's not the most exciting way for something to happen. For example, Dalinar is going to this vision, right? And then the Stormfather tells him something that he didn't say before. Why didn't he say it before? Kaladin is just having this vision of Dalinar being in danger. It's very conveniently there. Maybe it's put there on purpose to confuse him, but you know, sometimes it gives me the feeling of when you're playing a video game and you're going somewhere and there's this NPC, it gives you some information, and then you go to another place and you get another NPC giving you some information. And I feel like sometimes the reveal of information could have been done better or in a different way. Also, Hoyt. Okay, I like Hoyt, but the way he helped Shallan and the way he interacted with her, I'm very conflicted about this. Hoyt appears when he's needed, and that's very convenient, right? Like, why is he needed in this moment and not in the other one? I mean, you can make an argument about it, and maybe the cosmere, the universe knows where to send him. I don't know. But it's just like, I don't know. Shallan needs help, and then Wit appears and just gives her the information. This is, again, this NPC feeling of, oh, I get information from this person who just gives it to me. I don't know. I felt like when she was struggling, I would have preferred that she had conversations with some of the other characters. Because, you know, Hoyt appears and they have this talk. It feels like it's coming from a different genre almost. Like, for example, if you read Harry Potter and at the end of Harry Potter, he and Dumbledore have some conversation and Dumbledore tells him something smart. That kind of fits, right? And here you don't have that, but you have Hoyt who appears from time to time and it makes the story a bit more young adult feel to me. So now let's address one big complaint I have about the whole thing, and that is character interactions. Like, characters are great. Their arcs are great, their stories are great, their struggles are great, but sometimes I feel they do not interact with each other as much as I would like. And I don't mean interactions like talking to each other, like they talk to each other, they plan things. For example, I liked when Adolin was kind of keeping an eye on Kaladin after he froze, and he kind of was there for him. I liked that. I liked when Kaladin and Shallan had this conversation, because I was looking for them to have some kind of conversation. Like, they had this moment in the chasm where they really opened up, and then nobody was talking about it. Like, wasn't Shallan a bit worried that he knows so much about her? For example, they went to open the gate, the portal, the gate, whatever, and that scene was missing. Like, they just went and came back, and what was their interaction there? Like, these kind of interactions maybe are not essential to the plot, but they're fun to read, and they build up the relationship, and I just wish we had more of them. Something is missing there, you know, something is missing. It frustrates me. It's not satisfactory enough. Like, even the wedding doesn't happen. We do have, like, the chapter with Rock and his family coming. Like, there is this attempt to show the characters interacting and their, like, quieter moments and stuff. Why we don't have it with the main cast? Kaladin wants to help Dalinar so much. Maybe it could have been a nice moment that you have Dalinar there and he's looking at the storm, and Kaladin's coming to, I don't know, ask for directions, and they maybe have a little conversation, and Dalinar maybe shares some of his doubts with Kaladin. I mean, where are those things? People are in their heads a lot, which is okay, but I feel like sometimes it's more interesting when people talk about their problems. They don't have to be like a therapy session. It's just like, I miss that. So now I'm gonna say a few words about the characters, okay? Let's start with Dalinar, because this is his book. I love Dalinar. He's a very particular character. I like how rough he is. I like his arc, the way he accepted what he did, the way he took responsibility about what he did, learning about his past and everything he went through, and the way he reacted to it kind of made me like him more. I know he's not exactly the good guy. He's done a lot of horrible things. Still, I feel like that's what's fascinating about him, that he is flawed, that he has done horrible things, but still he's now choosing different direction. I like the moment when he faced the thrill. Actually, I think that was more exciting than him facing Odium, because the thrill is that thing that has been his friend, so to say, that thing that has been part of him in a way, and he captured it. He took control of it, which is a nice way to say that he took control of his own vile nature in a way. I like that Dalinar is a person of action. Like, he's maybe not so good with words, but he's a person of action, and he did certain things in this book that show that he really is the person who kind of brings together, who unites. I like how he rebuilt the city. He is not good at everything. Like, he is really not a good politician. For him, his battle was like, okay, I take responsibility of who I am. I take control of this thrill. I take control of my power. This is all cool, right? And then he saves Adolin, Shallan, and Kaladin by bringing those realms together. But he didn't know that he was doing it, right? He was a bit closed in his own space. Of course, he knew that he has to save the city and everyone. But the first book, for example, when Kaladin and Bridge 4 went to save Dalinar, it kind of felt stronger because their actions were more connected to other characters in the immediate moment. I feel like if Dalinar knew that the others need him too, would that have been better? I don't know. But there was something about the impact of that scene that was less emotional than the other ones, even though it was emotional. It's conflicting. I don't know. Then, Kaladin. Of course, I love Kaladin, you know. By the way, after Words of Radiance, I actually ordered some of these figurines. I also have Szeth. He's over there, and Jasnah and Shallan. I couldn't buy Dalinar and Adolin because budget. But yeah, maybe in the future. I really hope they do some kind of convention here in Europe so I can go, because to the United States a bit difficult. So yeah, anyway, in this book he again struggled as usual. Like, his desire to help everyone, it's really a problem for him. I like the fact that at the end somebody had to save him, to help him this time. Not always he has to save everyone, right? There's something very charismatic about him. It's just in the way the story presents him, in the way other people see him. He's a very strong presence in a way in the story. The moment he froze, I think, was the most interesting moment with him in this book. I mean, of course, the final battle, but like, I feel like the moment he froze was the most interesting to me, and I do like it, but I do have complaints about it. I understand it logically, but at the same time, Elhokar was there. Last book, he did so much to protect him, and now he's just kind of abandons him. Like, something was off for me. All of this was set up for him to react like that. It was all there, but maybe it wasn't enough for me. I don't know. Because how can you compare your relationship with somebody you know for a longer time, and you, like your king and the little baby, how can you compare that relationship with somebody you met yesterday? I mean, you could feel bad about it, but just to freeze like this, I don't know. Sometimes you can understand the logic of certain actions of the characters and still to feel a bit unconvinced about it for some reason. Maybe others won't be like that. Another thing that was a bit odd to me about Kaladin was he was so worried about Dalinar, but he didn't worry so much about his own family. Why? That's why if Kaladin and Dalinar had more scenes together, it would be more believable that Kaladin worries about him so much. Or maybe he's just obsessed with his duty to help others. I mean, you can look at it in different ways, but yeah. Then another thing I didn't like so much was the entire Kaladin, Shallan, Adolin love triangle. I think it didn't have enough time, because this book has a lot of going on, and so there is not enough time for things maybe to develop. This whole dynamic was not satisfying. It gave a lot of teasing about what could happen, but nothing really happened. I feel like maybe it would have been better if Kaladin didn't like Shallan, like if it was just in her head, it was just part of her conflicting personalities, the way she's not sure what she wants and who she is. That kind of fitted with her. It would have been nicer if Kaladin just wanted to approach her as a friend, if he saw her in that way, because then at the end he just say, oh yeah, I never really actually cared. Like, emotions are not sort of so easy to push aside, you know. Oh yeah, I realize I actually don't like her, like in that way. Okay. Also, I feel like Adolin and Shallan relationship was cute, but now they're married, I feel like there is not a very good base on their relationship. Adolin say, oh, I see the real you and stuff like that, but he doesn't know a lot about her. She still hides a lot from him. I hope maybe in the next book their relationship will develop with them opening up to each other more, sharing more. What I liked about Shallan and Kaladin's dynamic in the previous book was the way they recognized each other's pain and they could open up to each other and stuff like that. But then in this book, Shallan is mostly attracted by Kaladin's appearance. I mean, obviously he is attractive, I guess. His charm, his dark aura, his everything about him is attractive to a young woman, right? And Shallan is never really trying to see deeper than that, so it makes sense. But also it feels like, I don't know, I feel like Shallan is just so much in the same place. Like, she takes one step further and 3 steps back. It's realistic the way people struggle, but I wish she could have some progress and then maybe have different problems. Like, if she opened up to Adolin and they start to build a relationship, that will bring new problems. So Adolin, I like him now more. He's just a fun character to read about, but I think some things could have been developed better about him. Adolin has a little bit of arc, which is, oh, is he going to become king or not? But maybe he doesn't have to have any kind of arc if it's not going anywhere. Like, you know, also Szeth, he had a little arc of struggling of become radiant, and then he suddenly is radiant. Again, a little undeveloped, but it's fine. About Elhokar, I was happy that he's getting himself together, that he finds something he wants to do, and so on. Then the way he died was really sad, and I feel like they never really mourned him. There was not a proper moment of the characters reacting to it. And I think this kind of reactions sometimes are missing. Also, there are some characters like Navani and Jasnah and Renarin that I wish we had more time with, but maybe in the future books. If, for example, if Shallan is going to stay on the same page and struggle with the same stuff, then maybe we don't have to have so much page time with her. We can give some of that to Jasnah or somebody else and then go back to her when she is taking step forwards. Like, you know, this balance could be maybe better, I don't know. And now let's talk about Szeth, which, you know, I love him so much. I don't know, he's one of the characters I like the most, and I'm very curious about him and very interested in him. So I was very excited to read more about him in this book. And I was happy that he switched sides and he went to help Dalinar. And his interactions with the sword was one of my favorite parts. I love the sword. The sword is one of my favorite characters now. He's so bloodthirsty. I guess there's some Cosmere reference there. I don't know. Like this character, Azure, how is pronounced? I don't know. The woman warrior, she kind of came and then disappeared. So this felt like MCU cameo. Yeah, I'm here, I'm from another world and I'm going somewhere else. These kind of characters are fun for people who know the whole Cosmere. But maybe when I read more books and I understand where she comes from, I will see her in different light. I don't know. She was a cool character. It just came and disappeared very quickly. So let's go back to Szeth. Just let me show you my figure of Szeth. He looks so cool, right? So this is the cool sword. Anyway, one side note I want to add about Szeth. I wanted him to kind of be free to make his own choices. And his choice was again to serve someone. Like, he couldn't just follow himself. But I wish he can take responsibility for his own actions. Similar to Dalinar, he did some terrible things in the past. And yeah, maybe he will have to take responsibility for that. Following someone is still a choice, right? You choose to do that. He had to make that choice. That was his arc in this book. And he chose Dalinar. It did feel like he chose Dalinar very quickly. Like he saw him there and he was like, oh, this is my guy. Now he's just serving another master. He was paired with Lift. That was really fun because Lift is such a fun character. They met in Edge Dancer, right? So that was cool. Also, Lift and Dalinar was also very fun. Like when you pair Lift, who is so young and fun, and with somebody as serious as Dalinar or Szeth, it's really fun. So anyway, I like how Szeth came and him fighting and all the swords and stuff. But I felt like it's so weird that they accepted him. Like, oh, he's here, he's not dead, and he's on our side. What? And then he's suddenly Dalinar's bodyguard, and we don't have the scene where he's facing them. And wouldn't Kaladin be like, this guy tried to kill me? No, this doesn't. Why was it cut? I feel like this is more interesting than Lupin's jokes. Just weird choices. Like you put focus here and you skip something else, which I feel it's more interesting. That frustrates me. Like, I'm waiting for this moment. I'm waiting, for example, Shallan and Kaladin to address what happened, to talk about their past. It doesn't have to be romantic, just to have this interaction. Thankfully, it happened at some point that they did talk a little. Then I'm waiting to see how Shallan was going to address the thing that Kaladin killed her brother. It just doesn't have any consequences for now. She just accepts it somehow. Why was it a thing then? Whatever. So now the Avengers are assembled. The team is there. What I want in the next one, I want everybody to happy. No, I don't think so. Like when the Way of King ended, I was very curious for Words of Radiance because I knew Kaladin and Szeth will meet and they're gonna fight, and I knew that's gonna happen at some point. But now what's going to happen? What are they going to do? There isn't anything in particular that I'm looking forward to except knowing about Szeth and wishing for Kaladin to be happy. I guess Kaladin should say the fourth ideal. I guess he should accept the fact that he cannot help everyone. He either accept that or go and become a doctor, because I think maybe being a doctor or a surgeon for him is a better choice than being a soldier, because when you're a soldier, you eventually hurt people. I like the whole conflict about like the Parshendi are the natives and actually the people are the invaders, and yet obviously everyone will fight to protect their life and their home because there is this force behind them what is pushing them. They don't even think about making peace because Odium doesn't want peace. Interesting part, I think, is that the Parshendi seem to have escaped the war before. Like the listeners, they hid from their gods, right? They didn't want to serve them anymore. So I'm not sure if what Odium is doing is actually in service of the Parshendi. Is it actually good for them or not? Because he can just be like this power-hungry entity that just wants to conquer this world. We'll see how it goes with the Parshendi. Will there be some conflicts in between them? There is a lot of interesting things that I'm looking forward to. But there isn't anything in particular. There isn't. Right now, the characters like Kaladin, Shallan, and Adolin are kind of friends. Dalinar and Navani are good. Everybody is good with each other. The King Terry. I call him King Terry, but his name is Taravayang. I call him King Terry so that I don't hurt your ears by trying to mispronounce his name. His deal with Odium, that's interesting. Let's see what he's going to do. He's also kind of interesting characters in the way that he is trying to help. His way of helping is a bit questionable. It was a bit strange how easily they accepted that, he said to Dalinar, yeah, I tried to kill you, but I didn't know better. And he was like, yeah, okay. I think my favorite relationship right now is Adolin and Kaladin. I like their kind of a friendship because Kaladin and Bridge 4 is great, but he's their leader and they admire him and he's taking care of them and stuff like that. They're a bit like a family, but Adolin and Kaladin, it's a bit more like subtle. Like Adolin is now keeping an eye on Kaladin and he's noticed some of his tendencies and he's helping him. I like Adolin. I think he's very supportive. Another thing I think gets in the way of the story a bit is, as I said before, that sometimes like if Shallan is in a loop of the same problems, maybe we don't need so much time with her, right? For now, we can go back to her later. And I feel like in this book, sometimes it was getting a little bit too depressive when you have everyone having a hard time, everyone is struggling, everyone is in a bad place. I feel like if Brando wants to focus on one character at a time, he really needs to focus better, because in this book we had Dalinar and we had his story, and his story was tragic enough, all what happened with his wife, so his problem with alcohol, his problem with his family, and then you have also Kaladin suffering, and then you also have Shallan suffering. I don't know, maybe you can balance it better. You maybe have Shallan having a better time, like Shallan, for example, overcoming something and then another character going down. If everyone is like breaking down, it's become a bit heavy. But if you have characters having a better moment and then taking turns at feeling terrible, and that's how they can help each other. For example, Navani was maybe the person who was at a better place in this moment, so she could step in and help Dalinar. What I would have liked the most, but that's my personal preference, is just blubbering. Don't hate me, okay? But I would have preferred if in this book Kaladin was doing better and he was maybe helping Shallan. Maybe he had this conversation with her that Wit had, very like in a friendship way. They wouldn't have to have this pointless romantic stuff. And then maybe in the next book he is having a breakdown and she is feeling better and she could help him, something like that. Maybe it's more realistic when everybody is suffering at the same time. I don't know. I feel like something in this book wasn't as good as I hoped, but still the book was good, so maybe if you have to rate it, first will be 9 out of 10, the second will be 10 out of 10, and this will be like 7 out of 10, something like that. I think that would be my rating. And the only reason I put 9 at The Way of Kings is just because I think Word of Radiance was a bit better, had more moments, so that's why. But I enjoyed both. I could talk so much about it. Just the fact that I have so much to say about it and so invested in it, you can say that I really loved it, because if I didn't like it, I would have DNF'd it. I really don't care about reading stuff I don't enjoy, but I do enjoy this, and I'm looking forward to know more about the characters. And I know my videos are a bit chaotic because I'm very new to YouTube and I kind of struggle to focus what I'm talking about, but I hope I can make some better reviews in the future. If you see this video, can give me some comments, maybe suggestions, maybe just tell me which part of the video you liked or didn't like. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, please just leave me a like or a comment or anything. I will see you again soon. Bye!